Hi, I'm StukaDave, and I'm going to give a very brief explanation of the forces of flight. Now, you may be constructing one of these Delta Dart models, a very, very popular model. They fly great and they're easy to build. But why does it fly? Well, my friend Murray here, the Moai, is going to help explain it, because Murray is made of stone and he weighs 2.5 tons, and nothing you do will make him fly. If you build your plane according to the rules of aerodynamics, it'll fly. But if you ignore those rules or you don't know them, your plane's going to fly like Murray. Okay, so there are 4 forces of flight. There is the lift of the wing. There is gravity pulling it down. Those are 2 fighting each other. Then there's the thrust of the motor or your launch of a glider that makes it go forward. And there's the drag of the airplane, the wind resistance, that tends to slow it down. And those forces must be in balance for the plane to fly. In addition, there's things about the plane that are important. The control surfaces and how they're angled. The balance of the plane is very important. A full-scale airplane, for instance, has a rudder that goes back and forth to turn the plane left and right. It has an elevator that goes up and down to point the plane up and down, and it has ailerons on the wings to roll the plane. So there's roll, there's yaw, and there's pitch. And those things are all controlled by these control surfaces. Now, if you're building a free flight model as opposed to a radio control model, you better make sure that your airplane knows how to do all those things without your help. If you have a radio control model, you're going to have a certain amount of control and you can work things out as it flies. But your plane still has to be balanced properly to work. By the way, planes will fly even if they're ugly. Sometimes I think they fly better if they're ugly. Sometimes you have to add adjustments. So here's our test glider, all right? And the 2 common ways to do it are to take a little bit of clay and put it on whichever end needs it. Another way to do it is with a trim tab, which acts like a piece of rudder on the plane. So you can use a sticky tab like that and bend it however you want, and that works especially well on a Delta Dart. And that'll turn the airplane, or if you need it, you can put it on the elevator and it'll give it a little up elevator, or sometimes you need it on the wing to keep the wing up. And then when you get it just the way you want it, well, you take a little piece of balsa and you glue it in that position, so you'll have that trim tab permanent. But the paper one you can bend and experiment and get it just right. Here's a proper glide. You might need to put some weight or a trim tab if yours stalls like this, or nose dives, or rolls left, or rolls right. You can correct those. So the Wright brothers were trying to invent an airplane, and they knew that a lot of people were trying to invent an airplane. And they looked up all the data and all the information that had been gathered by these other people, and they found out it wasn't all correct. Some of it was way wrong. And they needed a source of good information, so they built a wind tunnel so they could test models of the parts of their plane, so they knew whether it worked or not and what needed to be done. At that time, no one had ever seen a successful airplane. No airplane had ever flown. This has the same parts as one of our planes. It's got the rudder in the back, but the elevator is in the front because they figured, let's put it in the front. It's got an awful lot of wings. We don't use that many wings nowadays. But this thing was successful because they figured out what those rules were. They figured out how much lift it needed to overcome the weight. They found out how much thrust it needed to overcome the drag. And they figured out ways to control the flight of the airplane to make it do what they wanted, and that was the key thing. So build your Delta Dart, wind up that rubber motor, which carries a tremendous amount of power, more power to weight than a gas engine in that rubber motor, and launch that baby and have fun with it.